Thank you so much. Thank you for the warm welcome and thanks for the great introduction. I'm talking to you today on something that's very dear to my heart, a wellness mindset. Cultivating a wellness mindset is what I dedicate my time to in my practice and work to help individuals find. So let's start out by defining what that is and look at a contrast between that and the care model that's commonly used in the Western world. So it's often said that if you're not working from a wellness mindset, you're focusing mainly on sickness care. Now, this is not inherently bad. This is what we're exceptionally good at here in the United States. And the Western approach is typically to monitor and treat for disease processes as they arise. In no way, shape, or form do we want to stop monitoring for disease processes. We also don't want to stop screening for early detection. So points 1 and 2 in the sickness care model I have full agreement with. We want this, and we want to continue to pour research dollars into these areas and focus there. It's at point 3 that we have a line of demarcation that's been crossed. When we have to treat with less invasive or intensive procedures and protocols first, and then elevate that treatment and intensity commensurate with disease processes, I begin to think, how could we think in a more causal fashion and figure out, could we have interrupted this process? Now, there are times where there's a genetic predisposition to something, what's known as congenital abnormalities. We can be born with factors. In both of those cases, or cases like that, because there are many more, obviously we want to treat those, and the sickness care model is fantastic. We want to manage disease processes. But in many instances, and you'll see a little bit more as we move forward, the CDC, the Center for Disease Control, estimates that 7 of every 10 deaths have some lifestyle factors that are attributed to them. And we can and do have direct control over that. So let's talk a little bit more about that. You'll see this from time to time. We had a fantastic member for such a long time at e4e. His name was Fred Miller, and he taught me during presentations to black the screen occasionally. So you'll see that. We haven't lost power to the projector because I see people jump. Okay. No sweat public speaking. Thanks, Fred. There's your shout out. So let's talk about lifestyle risk factors. Actually, I think I passed something up. Okay, here we go. Lifestyle risk factors. Each year, chronic disease causes 7 of 10 deaths in Americans. These are heart disease, cancer, and stroke. So these 3 account for more than 50% of the deaths each year. That's astounding. When I read that to you, I'm saying those words, and yet when I stop, when I let it sink in, if I let my subconscious mind, thank you, Dale, actually process that blows me away. We have direct control over these lifestyle choices, and they're implicated, at least partially, in 70% of deaths in the United States. That's mind-blowing. There is the URL that can be searched for more information, as where I got that quote. So let's move forward here. 4 personal behaviors that can affect chronic diseases are lack of physical activity. That gent that introduced himself as the motion guru, that's my personal trainer. You don't get to look like this. You told me not to say that anymore. He tells me to come and see him a couple times a week and then do it another 5 days at home, and I get there once a week, but I'm working on it. Anyway, lack of physical activity. Get a motion guru, unless you're Mary Kuthais, and then you just bust it out on your own. It's admiration, that's all. Anyway, get a motion guru to help you out. Focus on nutrition, because poor nutrition is one of the factors that we see here. Now, I'm just going to pause for a second. My 9-year-old daughter laid this on me. We just got back from vacation, and she laid this on me while we were in Florida.
And what happened on your vacation?
I got engaged. Thank you. That's the most applause I've ever gotten a speaking engagement. I got to do that more often. I don't know if she understood when I said, "Will you marry me?" It was loud. She might have thought it was something else, but I'm just running with it. My daughter was reading the back of a package, so we had some paleo granola. What's paleo? Well, eating in a low glycemic or sugar controlling sort of way is a quick definition. But Cecilia's reading the back of this, and she's very theatrical. She's 9, like I said. And she makes up a little song. You can write this down because I love it. And she says, veggies and, so grammatically it's not great, but it flows like this. Veggies and fruits and nuts and roots and meats. Veggies and fruits and nuts and roots and meats. And then she's super cute, not like this, but Veggies and fruits and nuts and roots and meats. No wheat. Veggies and fruits and nuts and roots and meats. And I thought, dang, that's the paleo diet right there. So there you go. Write it down if you'd like. I'll repeat it for you. Anyway, with nutrition, poor nutrition is directly implicated in so many of these, 70% of the deaths. And then tobacco use. We all know this. Anybody using tobacco at this point in time is willfully ignoring the facts. Now I'm going to take a quick second. I borrowed this easy button.
That was easy.
That was easy. So I borrowed this from right around the corner, but I want you to imagine that anytime you're making a decision in your life, whether it's a decision of what food you're going to consume or how you're going to spend your time, I want you to imagine that there are 3 of these buttons. And this is actually what I do. I do make it this simple, I have to. You got one up here and it's the positive. I'm about to make a decision. I'm going to make a fruit smoothie that loads my body with micronutrients. This is going to boost function. Now I can't stand up here and say that micronutrients help to prevent cancer. I can't say that. I can't say that. Hippocrates might have said, let food be thy medicine and let thy medicine be the food, but the FDA would tell him today that he can't say that. And maybe Hippocrates would then say, well, does it boost immune function to consume a high antioxidant load? And the FDA might say, well, yes. And does the immune system help fight against pathogenic activity, bacteria and viruses? Yeah, that's true. Does your immune system also dismantle aberrant cellular growth? That's cancer. Well, yeah, the immune system does that too. So antioxidants boost immune function, and that could affect things like cancer. No, you can't say that. Okay, so food's not medicine, and you're the FDA, you're the Food and Drug Administration, so you're monitoring food and medicine, but okay. And at that point in time, I imagine Hippocrates would drop the mic. But actually, don't ever drop a mic, right? That's horrible, it's bad. But he would drop a tablet at that time because he would... Anyway, just food for thought. Food for thought, but food's not medicine. It's different than that, but it's really good for your body. So focus on proper nutrition. And micronutrients, just a quick backtrack. When you hear people talk about macros, I love the focus on eating now. Your macros are your proteins, your fats, your carbohydrates. These things matter. We don't want to be loading up on too many carbs, and we want a good, sustainable energy throughout the day. Fats, high-quality fat sources, and proteins provide that. So those are your macros. Your micronutrients are the over 10,000. That's right, we haven't even mapped them all out yet. Highly beneficial factors for your body, antioxidants. So veggies and fruits and nuts and roots and meats. Your veggies and your fruits are the sources, okay? Think of berries as low glycemic, means it doesn't spike your blood sugar much. Sources of these micronutrients, these are polyphenols and terpenes and incredibly awesome things like that. But again, 3 macronutrients over 10,000 micros, and you get that at the beginning of Cecilia's song, Veggies and Fruits. All right, excessive alcohol consumption, don't do it. Don't drink too much, a little bit. So, right, yeah. So it's interesting. For a long time, we've heard that consuming a glass of red wine with dinner is healthy, and I think there's good evidence to support that. Remember me talking about the 3 buttons that exist? Let me just highlight that, and then I'll jump right back in. Positive, neutral, and negative. Just imagine a positive button that you can strike when you're making a good decision. Neutral, drinking water. I'd like to tell you, great job, you're drinking water. That's neutral. You don't get a lot of extra points for that. Be sure to get it in. And negative would be alcohol consumption if it's considered broadly in terms of wellness. And here's how I look at that. You could live your entire life without having another drink of alcohol, and you could be better off for that, okay? Occasional alcohol consumption does seem to favorably affect some blood lipid levels. So that is what we see, meaning your cholesterol level can be positively impacted, and it can be good for your heart to drink some red wine. That also could have to do with the resveratrol and the other micronutrient polyphenols that are in there, and you can get that from eating blueberries and grapes. But if you got to ferment the grapes, drink it. And I do enjoy that. I do have alcohol on occasion. That can vary widely, but if somebody has alcoholism in their family or they're an alcoholic, wow, that's the negative button, big time, and that's not easy. So if we look at the overall picture, this is relative to each individual, right? It's relative to each individual. I know I'm sugar sensitive. You think I'm high energy now? You give me a bunch of sugar, I'm out of control. So you got to look at it and consider. For some people, sugar is kind of neutral. They don't crave it, and they can have a little, and it doesn't cause them to spin out of control. Okay, so back to it. 4 personal behaviors that can affect chronic diseases. Again, this is directly from the CDC. So, wellness prevention mindset. If we're not in the sickness mindset, thank you, Mark, then we're in a wellness prevention mindset. This is understanding the impact of intentional wellness practices on our short-term and long-term health. Your motion guru in your life can help you with this. It's not that I don't wake up in the morning and think I'm going to put a heavy thing on my shoulders and stand up and down on one leg. Who the heck does that? He makes me do that. Am I better off for it? Yes, much. Have help in these areas, but be intentional about filling in the gaps. If you don't naturally feel motivated, then work with somebody who can help you. Viewing health issues that arise as breakdowns in the normal functioning of the body and seek to restore balance. Now here's a very important point I want to drive home. These are not mutually exclusive paradigms. We can operate within the sickness care model and want to, and simultaneously engage a wellness and prevention mindset. Let me give you an example. I treat somebody who is a cancer survivor. Is it important that she continues with her routine screening? Absolutely. Is her life tremendously better because of conventional therapies that she did undergo and early detection? Absolutely. Has she also fared much better through those treatments and her long-term prognosis much better by having a wellness and prevention mindset? Absolutely. So if we look at cancer and heart disease, which we talked about, that's a big part. A third category that's not even in there, and I could talk for 3 hours on this, is autoimmune disease. It's because there's so many different little facets that exist in autoimmune disease, it gets overlooked. But if we lumped all autoimmune disease, basically confusion of the immune system between self, don't attack me, and non-self, regulate this. If we lumped all those diseases together, they'd be right up there with cancer. So, 4 pillars of wellness: nutrition, exercise, restorative sleep, and mental well-being practices. Bill Higley stood up here and talked to us about meditation, mindfulness. Unbelievable. This is where it's at. We have to be refocusing. Again, the subconscious mind, we can drop into a space of deep relaxation when we begin a meditation process, and it's the values on the entirety of the body, not just your mind, but your internal physiology are tremendous, tremendous. Mind your macronutrients, proteins, fats, and carbohydrates. Again, veggies and fruits and nuts and roots and meats. So make sure you're eating from all those categories. We don't eat proteins, we don't eat fats, and we don't eat carbohydrates. We eat foods that are comprised of these things. Eric's smiling back there because we talk about this stuff all the time. He knows a lot about nutrition too. So if we look through here, it's mind your macronutrients, but if you're eating in a way that is mindful in terms of consuming whole foods, not eating a lot out of packages, you're off to a good start. You're off to a good start. Load up on these micronutrients. Intentionally eat meals. Breakfast is a great one where you got a lot of berries in there that you're consuming because, again, those micronutrients are phenomenal for our body. I can't say that they prevent disease. Hippocrates might have said that. All right, exercise, get it. Stressing your system makes it stronger. Absolutely. There's a law called Wolff's Law. It describes how loading up bones actually cause them to proliferate and become stronger. Somebody mentioned Tony Robbins earlier. He's behind something called OsteoStrong now. It's a franchise that's out there. All they do at OsteoStrong, and it's a good idea, is they load the body. They stress the body, and as a result, OsteoStrong, your bones become stronger. But this happens with exercise in general. When Eric puts that heavy thing on my shoulders and says, all right, stand up and sit down on one leg, I'm like, who thought of this stuff? It works. It works. Vigorous exercise 2 to 3 times per week, but daily movement. We have to move. We have to move. And I'll tell you, getting up from a seated posture, walking around, and sitting right back down a minute later, highly beneficial. Daily movement in there. Sleep. Respect that circadian rhythm. This is controlled by your exposure to light. Your circadian rhythm is that 24-hour clock cycle where your body drops into a senescent state or a rest state during the night and then wakes the next morning. It's entirely triggered by light. Artificial sources of light like screens emanate blue waves of light that confuse this process in the body. So it's not that we can go without these screens. I can't live without mine, and I'm not even techie. But understand and respect the fact that light exposure does change the way your physiology functions, and high quality sleep is crucially important. Mental well-being, healthy relationships, effective conflict resolution, stress management practices. I'm blazing through this. This is so important. Harvard did a recent study that I've talked about before up here, and it's in the e4e video library. This study was on the difference between individuals that led healthy lives and those who did not. And it was an 80-year study, multi-generational study, and 2 different strata, higher income, lower income groups were studied. And what we found at the end was the most important fact, more important than nutrition, more important than exercise, sorry, emotion guru, more important than any of that was the quality of the relationships. My mentor, Todd Frisch, he helped me tremendously when I was starting practice, used to say, it's the food you eat, the water you drink, the air you breathe, and the people you know, and it's also the thoughts you think. Wow, wow. Body-mind practices, yoga, tai chi, qigong, walking, meditation, and prayer. At the end of the day, it's self-love, and it's life-work balance. Most of the time you hear work-life balance. Well, I turned it around. You know why? Because you can't have any work if you don't have life. You can't. Without life, we can't do anything. So, life-work balance. Any questions? I don't know how to speak any of those other languages, so only talk to the top. John Ayers.
Just share some foods that are in the fats, proteins area for me, please.
Absolutely. So fats would be olive oil, very high quality monounsaturated oil. Olive oil. Coconut oil is a very stable oil. Butter. And high quality butter, butter matters. High quality butter, we're talking pasture raised or organic. Okay? And the reason for that is butter is almost entirely fat. And that fat or oil profile is greatly affected by what the animal has consumed. An animal that consumes chlorophyll containing green substances like grass will have a proliferation of high quality balance in that oil. Stronger omega-3, we hear about the benefits of omega-3 oil, so there's more omega-3 present in those cases. That's why salmon is so rich. They're not eating grass up here, of course, but aquatic grasses. So butter, olive oil, and coconut oil. Proteins. Meats are the easiest sources. High quality animal protein is crucially important to many people. I have seen vegetarians do it successfully, but it takes a lot of work. If you're food combining to do this as a vegetarian, you're eating brown rice, lentils, you're eating pinto beans, black beans. Beans are excellent quality protein sources, but animal protein is extremely important. It has a form of iron in it. It's called essential heme. That's incredibly important for our body. So, yeah. Yes, sir.
Two-part question now.
Yes.
What is you just mentioned like the oils, what is your take on avocado oil now?
Awesome.
And my second question, if you had to pick 3 fruits that you can only eat every day, what would they be?
Yeah, excellent. So in terms of avocado oil, highly beneficial. It fits right up there with olive oil. It's a highly beneficial oil that's stable, okay? So whole avocados, excellent, but also oils change when they're heated, and avocado oil and coconut oil are both oils that are heat tolerant. So cook in those. Throw corn oil out. Get vegetable oil out of there because that's corn oil, right? Get canola out of there. For years we were told canola was good because of what it didn't have in it. Canola is junk oil. I'm going to get a call.
Dan, can you comment on the comparison between grapeseed oil and olive oil, both in their natural state and heated state?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that. Let me touch back. I forgot the fruits. So blueberries, high antioxidant load. That always makes my list. Okay. After that, you hear about goji berries if you're wanting to add something that's a little bit more obscure but mixes well in dry foods. Dried goji berries are great for that. But your frozen fruits that are excellent to consume on the regular or fresh are going to be raspberries, think of the berries: raspberries, blackberries, blueberries, and cherries. Cherries have a higher content of sugar, but very, very beneficial and anti-inflammatory also. Steve, your question, grapeseed oil is very stable under heat also. It's not as beneficial as olive oil or avocado oil as a standalone, considering it as a nutrient, but it's an excellent medium to cook in. And was there a second oil you asked about?
That was it.
Okay, super. Any other
Good.
questions?
Okay, thank you,
Great,
Dan.
absolutely. Thank you. That's the Harvard study in case any